All right, so welcome, Ronaldo. This is the Hath+Hill Architecture Club here at Mercer County. My name is Hakeem. Jordan.
Melissa.
Nicholas. So we called you in today. Hopefully you could give us, we're very interested in learning about just like portfolio tips and the process of creating a very strong portfolio. So yeah, I'm not sure if you had anything prepared, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on those things. And yeah.
I prepared a small 2-page presentation basically. And then I also plan on showing you guys my portfolio.
Great.
Like I wasn't sure exactly what you guys wanted to know about portfolio. So I'm just going to talk about like the process that I basically took. Let me share my screen.
Let me just allow that. Okay, you should be able to now.
Can you guys see my screen or no?
Yes. We see, yep,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
Great. We're good to go, Ronaldo.
Okay. So portfolio process. I basically listed it out in 5 different steps, which basically go in order. So for me, like I started with finding other examples, so precedents. So in architecture, you'll realize that finding existing work that accomplishes what you're trying to do is always an important part of the process. Therefore, you should find portfolios or any form of graphic layout which you like. For example, with my portfolio, I started off by looking at architecture magazines, and I really liked how they had like full pages dedicated to just a single graphic. As you will see in my portfolio, that is exactly the layout that I established for myself. And then the second step, project/graphic inventory, is an understanding of everything you have to work with. So this is basically making a list of all the graphics that you have in order to understand how many pages you're going to need per project and the order in which you place these projects. And then step number 3, choosing a size. So once you know the graphics you're working with, you can determine what page size and direction works best for you. For example, when I did my graphic inventory, I realized that I had most of my renderings are vertical, and that's why I decided to use a vertical A4 page size. So you can basically see that right here. Can you guys see my mouse?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you can see that my portfolio is made up of 2 A4s that are side by side, which basically make a spread. And then step number 4, creating a layout. That is what I have on the left side of the screen over here in the red. And so for every project, I have my renderings in the same locations, the text within the same boundaries, etc. And it makes laying out your portfolio so much easier. It also helps your reader/audience familiarize your work and what to expect next, basically. And you can see that for the other sheets in my portfolio as well, down here and over here. And then step number 5, when I say choosing the style, I'm talking about overall font style, font size, color schemes, diagrams, renderings, etc. Your pages should look cohesive even though you're working with different projects from different times. Oh yeah, and then down here you can see some font examples that I have. So if you're having trouble figuring one out, those are pretty good ones. Batura, Gill Sans, Helvetica, Franklin Gothic, Nutra, and Gotham. So portfolio dues, it's important to use your best images and have them do the talking. Therefore, you can keep your text at a minimum, because when someone is looking at your portfolio, it's usually only for a minute. Therefore, they're not going to be reading everything you have in there. And then show your design process and thinking. It's important to have pictures of your models, sketches, diagrams, etc. So you should show how you got to your final design. And then the last one, show the many things you're good at. For example, some people towards the end of their portfolio have a section where they show their drawings, paintings, photography, etc. So not everything in your portfolio has to be architecture. And then for the portfolio don'ts, don't organize your portfolio from oldest to newest project. In architecture, you always show your best project first, always. And then don't make your color scheme too colorful. So when choosing a color scheme for your portfolio, don't go overboard. For example, I would say you should use a max of 2 colors, and these colors are used for titles, color blocks, etc. And you don't want your layout to distract from your graphics. Like your rendering should be like the most colorful thing in your portfolio. And then the final don't is don't have an inconsistent layout. Every page should be cohesive, with the only thing being different is graphics. So like I said earlier, even though you're working with different projects, like the layout throughout the whole portfolio should be similar. Yeah, so that's my quick presentation on process, and I'm going to show you guys my portfolio and how I sort of dealt with those issues throughout mine.
Perfect.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it full screen or is it?
Yep.
Wait, are you guys seeing my portfolio or my home screen?
We can see your portfolio currently on the screen.
Okay, it's like full screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, quick disclaimer, this is a 5th year portfolio. Therefore, I really don't show a lot of preliminary work, such as like sketches and pictures of models, because I only want to show finalized graphics. So you're going to notice that. And I'm assuming all of you guys are 1st and 2nd years, right?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's like work that you guys should definitely include. Yeah. Okay, so I actually started my portfolio by designing my cover page first. So this page that you're viewing right now. Your cover page should be simple. The main things that you need are your name and some form of title, such as portfolio, architecture portfolio, etc. And it's a great page where you can play around with fonts, color schemes, margin sizes, etc. So this, on the right side, you see my CV page, and on the left side, you see my table of contents. You can see my CV page is very minimal. I have my full name, degree, school, email, and phone number. That's it. You can also put your full resume in your portfolio. I've also done that before. You just have to know your audience. For example, if you're submitting your portfolio to a transfer school, they might require a resume or a transcript or a letter of recommendation within the portfolio. But if you're applying for a job, you're most likely going to be submitting your resume as a separate document. So you may not need to have your resume within your portfolio, but I still recommend having basic personal info in there. And then for my table of contents, very minimal as well. I don't have page numbers in my portfolio, but I do have project numbers. So make sure you have either of those. Also, project quantity. You can see that my portfolio only has 5 projects, and that's all you really need. I would say that 30 pages is the perfect amount for a portfolio. And I know that sounds like a lot, but once you start throwing everything in there, you'll realize that's really nothing. Also, don't forget portfolio is made up of spreads, like I said earlier, so it's 2 pages side by side. Therefore, a 30-page portfolio is only 15 spreads. So here, my first project, you can see the overall style and layout I established for my portfolio. I maintain a consistent format with section breaks that give my images like the space to breathe. So basically for the start of every project, you can see that I only have the rendering and the text. That's all. For example, like if I was in second year, I would have definitely have added, let me draw here. Like right here, I would have added like sketches and stuff like that. But like I said, you know, this was a 5th year portfolio, so I only wanted to show like finalized work. I didn't want to show any of the like preliminary stuff, so. So if you're having trouble finding a good font to use, like I said, I highly recommend using an architectural font. So like the ones I had listed earlier for Futura, Gill Sans, Nutra, Gotham, Helvetica, Franklin Gothic. Those are all fonts which are actually designed around architecture style, and it complements architecture work really well. So, you know. Also, you can all use 2 different fonts. For example, you can have one for titles and another one for normal text. That works pretty well. And then once again, here's another project. You can see it's the same layout as the previous project. The only thing that really changes is the name of the project, the text, and the rendering. And then as we continue, you can see that I usually have 2 to 4 graphics per spread. And instead of throwing in all the graphics you have, choose the ones that give your audience a good general idea of each project. You only want to show your best work. For example, like this project the final booklet was like about 100 pages. And you can see here in my portfolio, I only have it within 10 pages. But that's because I'm only showing finalized work. And then even on some pages, when I have a lot of work, you can still see that the graphics are still withheld within a boundary box. So for example, here. So like, I know like that's like a lot of work, but like technically it's still within that boundary that I created for my layout. And then you have another one over here. Another one over here. And then even the text sort of goes in with the layout. Yeah, and then that's my portfolio. And then even here, thank you. And then even on the last page, you can see that it's basically my cover page. I just remove all the titles and stuff, but I add my info once again at the bottom.
So what programs or, tools did you use to help you create this portfolio?
So in order to make my portfolio, I used InDesign.
InDesign?
Yeah. Have you guys heard of it?
No.
No.
It's a Adobe product.
Okay.
So it's, similar to like Photoshop.
Right.
Mhm.
How would you say, what do you think, what is the workflow of working on your portfolio? Like, how do you make sure you hit your goals and your timeline of when you need to submit such a thing?
That's a good question. So you're asking like, you know what? I actually, like I said, going back to creating that graphic inventory, I was able to like list everything I have. And that's when I was able to see like, okay, I'm like missing this graphic or I'm missing this. And then once I had that list of graphics, I was able to like create the timeline and give myself the amount of time I need. For example, like for this project right here, like it took me about like 2 days to lay this out. And it was mostly because I had to go back and like redo some graphics and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, creating that inventory of graphics really helps.
Gotcha. So try and create as much as you can before you get to this point.
Yeah.
And for projects in general, what programs did you use to get these beautiful renderings?
So, for example, this project was modeled in Rhino. Have you guys heard of Rhino?
Yeah.
We be using that.
Yeah, so I used Rhino for this. Like this whole thing was modeled in Rhino. And then I brought it into 3ds Max and rendered there. Have you guys heard of 3ds Max?
I have.
It's it's an Autodesk product, so it's similar to like Revit.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been recently using Lumion, and I find it pretty easy until it's easy, but like how much do you have to do to get it ready for such a program like 3ds Max in terms of like material choosing? Like, do you have to do that in 3ds Max, or does it all import automatically from Rhino?
Well, some of it imports, but I usually add all the material in 3ds Max.
Okay.
Mhm.
And when you like showcase drawings, paintings, any other art that's not technically architecture in a portfolio, and you put it into your layout, do you do it by project, or do you do like just like 2 mass pages of things? Because you don't necessarily have a thought process with certain drawings and such.
Mhm. It really depends. Like I remember in first and second year, like if I made a lot of models for a specific project, I usually added all those pictures with that same project. But then for like a lot of my sketches, drawings and paintings, I usually just left that for the end.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
But they don't need a full feature, like 3 pages for each one, do they?
No, like that's when I did just like one spread and I had like 20 things on there.
Gotcha. Cool.
Mhm.
Cool. Any questions from you guys? Melissa?
No, I don't have. Yeah, I don't have any.
Well,
I
Ronaldo,
actually have, my,
Share this with us, the presentation?
what
Is
was
there
that?
a way, oh, excuse me. Is there a way you can share your presentation with us?
Yeah, so I actually have it online.
You can
Or do
send
you
it
guys
in the
want-
Zoom chat and then I'll send it out to everyone.
Okay, let me do that right now. I was going to say, I have my, the portfolio that I use to transfer, if you guys want to see that as well.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
I have it, that I don't have online though, so I'll just show it to you guys right here. Okay, so that's the link to my portfolio.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And then here is my transfer portfolio. I'm assuming that's what most of you guys are going to be working on right now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I do think it's a question I do have.
What'd you say?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'll try to say it to the best of my ability. So my question to you in terms of transferring when it comes to portfolio, what things did you take into consideration for portfolio? Like when you was thinking about transferring to different colleges or universities?
Mm-hmm. Let me try to remember. Like I did a lot of research on the school that I was transferring, and like I saw a lot of like the work that they do there first and second year. So I was like trying to just like make a portfolio similar to what the students would have there, if you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah, that answered my question.
Okay, so this is,
Jumping off of Melissa's question. So so looking at the work of other students at the school, would you tailor your portfolio specifically for certain schools, or would you just have the general portfolio for all the schools you're transferring to?
that's a good question. The thing is that I only applied to one school, which was Jefferson. So, you know, I was basically only tailoring a portfolio to them. But I mean, one general portfolio should be enough. Mhm. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so as you can see in my transfer portfolio, I did have a resume. I don't remember if Jefferson was asking for that specifically, but I still threw it in there because by then I did have internship experience, so I wanted them to see that. I also threw a personal statement in there. Also a good thing to add. Okay, next you can see that I have 10 projects in this portfolio. That's like, looking back at it, I can't believe I did that. It's just way too much. And then on top of that, I added a separate section of art at the end. But then the one thing is that, you know, projects first and second year are a bit smaller, you know, so I guess you can get away with having more than 5 in that case. Yeah, and then you can see back then, most of my renderings were always horizontal. Therefore, my portfolio size is a horizontal A4. And looking back at this, like one thing I would change is like the black. I feel like there's just too much of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, then over here you can see this is just way too much black. I would not do this today.
Would you ever recommend like printing out your portfolio into a book, or do most colleges just take a digital one?
It should work either way, because like when I applied to Jefferson, I sent my portfolio on a USB through the mail. So it has to work, you know, in PDF format. But then also, I remember when I applied to a job, you know, you have to take a copy of your portfolio. Unless you have it like on a tablet or something, you know, you should still take it like a physical copy of it.
Gotcha.
It can work either way, yeah. Like I said, my portfolio is A4. So, you know, if I need to print it, I can easily go to Staples and have it printed. Yeah, so you can see like my transfer portfolio has a lot of preliminary work, such as like sketches and pictures of models. One thing I will say is that like my views and renders were like very small, as well as my floor plans. Like floor plans should always be really big. And looking back at this is just like really small. Once again, the floor plans are way too small. The views on this spread look pretty good though, in terms of size. So here you can see I actually put two projects side by side. I think you guys did both of these, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see these projects are pretty small, so I basically, and they're sort of similar. So I decided to put them side by side. Did you guys do the crown?
Yeah, we just did that today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so like the crown, for example, this is a project that they do at Jefferson as well. So, you know, it was like something I had to make sure was in my portfolio.
I really like how it came out. Ooh. Okay.
Once again, just way too much black here.
Right.
It makes
I'm
everything.
sure it took a lot of time in Photoshop too.
No, actually, I only use PowerPoint.
Oh, really?
Yeah, PowerPoint has this feature where you can like set a transparent color and it
Yeah.
like deletes like the background for you. And then you just like invert the colors.
Huh.
Yeah, it looks cool, but like it's just not. I would always go with white, you know, as a background. Once again, here, I would say this is just too much text. Yeah, too much text as well.
2 minutes.
That's the best one.
Oh yeah, and this is like the last page that I have of just like graphics.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's basically the portfolio that I use to transfer.
That's great.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Can you put the link to this one as well?
I actually don't have this one online, but I can
Okay.
try putting it. I can let you guys know once I have it up online.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just send it to us. We'll send it out.
Okay, yeah. Like I remember I couldn't put this online because it was just like way too big. And that was like an issue of using PowerPoint. Like that's what I use to make this portfolio. Is that, you know, like once you like drop something into PowerPoint, it sort of like saves itself onto the file. So like the file becomes really big.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Huh. What about you, Ronaldo? Yeah.
Well, Ronaldo, it was a great pleasure having you speak to us today. I think we all learned a lot of great information, especially the transfer just seeing your perspective of like where you are at now with your work, and how you can point out just like simple things like too much text and
Right, and not using black as a background.
yeah.
Thank you very much. We hope you have a great evening.
Thank
And,
you. Thank you for having me. If you guys have like any questions, feel free to reach out.
Of course,
Yep. We'll pass on your number if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Like you guys can message me any questions you have.
Yeah, fantastic.
perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ronaldo.
You're welcome.